Hello and welcome to the program that we just decided to entitle Entrepreneurial Budgeting. I am your host, Umangaliso Scelo wakwaButhelezi, your coach's coach. And in this program, we'll basically just be covering how startup entrepreneurs should be budgeting. And as usual, bafethu ngizoyifaka nanesizulu. Sike sithi ukulalana nosikamageba. There's nothing wrong with George, kodwa sometimes sike sithi ukumbekela eceleni. I'm that guy who assists startup companies. We use the NLP and metaphysics of coach abantu abasase in that startup phase of their business. Our claim to fame, of course, is that we started a couple of companies in 2015 as our practical classrooms. We call them a mobile classroom. If you are interested in being coached by us, we take you and we put you in an existing scenario so that we see how you perform as an actual entrepreneur on the job to give people that managerial experience. Bafethu, today, I'd like to just quickly shout out Lise Khumulutsi, the guy who runs Hustle Central. Google Hustle Central, he's doing some beautiful work in that space. I'd like to shout out Umbali Ngcobo runs a perfume house. Perfume house ilapha Salisbury Arcade, Smith Street at Durban. Just go and check out those businesses. Also, I'd like to shout out Marianne's Closet. Usis Marianne is doing some beautiful work along the lines as a very passionate entrepreneur who's pushing fashion designing. I always shout out these entrepreneurs because these are the people that inspired me to do this program in particular, So it's people that, I run into spaces with, sometimes through coaching, sometimes through just mentorship. It depends on what we are working on. And currently this is what we are working on, entrepreneurial budgeting. Let's get down to business. So what does that really actually even mean, entrepreneurial budgeting? Well, you've always heard me say that when we budget as entrepreneurs, I really prefer that we don't only budget money, but we also consider that we should be budgeting time. With entrepreneurship, I always call it M.T.P because not only money and time, but also we budget people. That's just what an entrepreneur should be doing. And I want to just cover some of these three aspects. Let's see how far we go with them. I'll try not to make the program to be too long. So ngendlela esenza ngayo ke bafethu, we say first of all you must be tracking your income and expenses. That's pretty straightforward when you are doing a budget yemali, Especially as an entrepreneur, it becomes so important. So I use an A5 legal book that I carry around with me. Of course, there's even an app. You can use an app. And if you are banking with people like, I know I've seen it with Capitec, I think FNB also has it. They have a way of helping you track expenses so that you know what you've been spending on. I find that if you get this part right, then half the job your budgeting is already done. Once ungakhona ukuthi track expenses because half the time as entrepreneurs, especially in that startup phase, we don't even know what our real expenses are. We make assumptions. We think maybe these are my expenses and we generalize a lot. But start tracking expenses. Just start keeping a log. So I use this little book for myself. Especially when things as ngena invoice. At least my invoice when you do your record keeping, whether you have an accountant or not. You can then tell that these were my expenses. But if you're not tracking expenses, akuna receipt taxini bafethu, there are certain expenses that you spend on and akuna receipt, so there's no way for you to really remember what you've been spending on. I say just keep that notebook and just start jotting down and tracking expenses wakho. I remember doing this exercise a few years ago, and I realized how much I was spending on red wine. I'm like, Jesus, because it's a personal expense, but so I didn't record keeping anywhere, but I was doing a budget for my personal at the time. Yes, as my account, I'm like, no, man, it's good to always track my expenses because it just helps you in really understanding what your genuine expenses are. And of course, I want us to track time. And in order to do that, I found this little tool some years ago, Yaga Dr. Eisenhower. I hope Ngibiza right is the name yake. It's called the Eisenhower Principle. Basically, Eisenhower is this guy. He has this famous quote. I really like his quote. He said, I have two kinds of problems. I have the urgent and the important, and the urgent is never important and the important is never urgent. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, because imnandi principle yakhe basically then breaks it down into a matrix of what's important, what's not important, what's urgent and what's not urgent, It's a simple little exercise soyenza together right there at the bottom. So besikhuluma nga what's important, what's and what's urgent. Sikhuluma nga what's important but not urgent. Siphinde sikhuluma nga what's important but urgent. Siphinde sikhuluma nga not important and not urgent. And of course, these things just move up in terms of priority. So you must prioritize isikhathi sakho. You must be able to say, create ngithi ama-locus, ama-list wethu, these are my tasks for the week, these are my tasks for the day. But as is said, ukuthi prioritize sharp, right? So what comes first, what comes second, yabona? And you will find ukuthi izinto ezi-important zinama-outcome, izinto that you can reach an outcome on. But izinto ezi-urgent, usually it's somebody else's outcome, it's somebody else's goal that you are trying to reach. And it focus kakhulu kulezi ezi-urgent because kumele sibe answerable to somebody else. So I need to just speak about that, ukuthi sishaye proper time management. And then, of course, into my relationship, I always speak about relationships. It's very important as a startup entrepreneur to nurture your relationships. I think this is a very key part in just being an entrepreneur. Kumele ukhone ukubudgeta, what relationships do you have? So my budgeting style of it has always been money, time, people. Because I believe that as an entrepreneur, if you don't budget just imali, but you also budget time and you budget relationships, then you have a long skin in the game. It is kesiboneke kwindaba yokubudgeting yokubafethu. Let's just get down to business so that this program is not too long. We all know bafethu, there's always a relationship between income and expenses. I don't even need to repeat that kakhulu, because you know this if you've already started your business. And even for your personal, you know the genuine principle is that income minus some expenses is always equals to your profit or your loss. You know this program already, right? So I'd like to just speak a little bit about that and why it is so important. Now, it may seem like, vele that's usual. We all know income minus expenses. If income yami iningi kunama expenses, I'm profitable. If income is less than expenses, I'm working at a loss. It may seem like something encane sesijwayele, but we must keep reminding each other of this principle. If we get this right, then our businesses wethu azoba sharp, I promise you. Because a business really rely on you just minding the money parts. This boosts cash flow like you won't believe. Big companies have fallen. Why? Because cash flow. Because abana product sharp or kwenzakala. No, cash flow bafethu. We must always make sure that we are making more than what we are spending on. That's why ngingakhuluma ngokutracker a little bit before. And of course, the game of balance is a game of just balancing between the income yakho nama expenses wakho. So as ama expense ayathanda ukuba maningi than the income, but you must strike that balance. It's very important to strike a balance, yabona. You must keep a budget lakho to that balance of what comes in and what goes out. If you don't do that, then you are in trouble. Then the business will definitely be in trouble. Your main task, your main job is to always just mind what comes in, mind what goes out. Let's make things a little bit practical as entrepreneurs. Sibone ukuthi how can we best do this? Just look at this slide for a second. Just observe it. Now, sometimes when we do this, we do it in a cash flow statement, but is just a profit and loss statement. Obviously, the differences are just minor. We are going to fagani as the information at us. But do this exercise for me. Just sit down and usually say user for a project. Just project for the next 12 months. When we pay the next 12 months, what would be your income? And in this case, we're to sometimes income here to its sales because it has actual tangible products. Sometimes it's fees because mhlambe sipushy service. My encouragement to you is please make sure ukuthi awuna only one source of income. It's 2020, bafethu. You can't rely on one source of income. Make sure ukuthi business lakho has several sources of income. Ngizokwenza example ngecar wash. We use those 5 companies as ukuthi sikhona ukutrainer ngazo, yabona. So I like to make an example, especially ngale car wash. Car wash, we even train other car wash operators. And it's a mobile waterless car wash. So it says you could be running your car wash, but maybe use a man's. So we must help you to make sure with business like waterless. So we train it just to earn that extra income as well. I know but you're increasing competition for yourself. We don't believe in those things, some of us. I'm in the space, and I'm excelling in the space. I don't mind sharing and spreading the knowledge. I don't mind who push into yabo sihlanganise, yabona. And of course, you could have even izinto like rental fees. You could have licensing or royalties. Mhlambe kune product when all produce it, then you just get paid royalties for your own. Somebody else gets to use it. You license it to them. But just look at other options. You must always try to look at other options of how you can make sure that income yako iba multiple. Now, let's move on to cost of sales. We are talking about raw material. These sometimes siyibiza ngama-input costs. These are the ones that are direct to i-production lakho. So if you produce some product, these are the costs as it direct. I couldn't even think of a lot, but kuzoba izinto like abo packaging. So also start to just note, maybe machine hire goes, it's your direct kind of input cost, then you buy cost of sale. Put those in as well, then move to gross profit lakho. Then of course there's operating expenses, lena banoyibiza nangama overheads, kunama accounting fees, so bank charges. Feel free again ukuthi uzifakele some other expenses for yourself. These are just the ones that we know are typical from any business to any business. Please bafethi shayeni le shandisi, and please account for izinto like abo insurance. Asizinaki lezi zinto ezi important to business. Your water and electricity asizinaki that and it's very, very important to your business. Rental, start accounting for izinto ezinjengabo rental. You will find ukuthi mawudila nama cost of sales mostly adila nama variable expense wakho, then mawudila nabo operating expenses mostly adila nama fixed costs wakho. But we'll talk about that when we get to the different types of expenses. Okwamanje, what I want to speak about is something that is called income assumptions. So let's say ngibheke just for 1 month and already sengiclaimile mina ukuthi hayi kuma sales ngizohlanganisa 20,000. Ibuya value. Where does it come from? This is how I do my income expenses and income assumptions, and for that matter ngizouse yona car wash just like I explained earlier. So let's say for instance one guy makangwashela imoto uthatha 30 minutes. That means ukuthi I'll get 2 cars in an hour. If lo muntu ngispanela for 8 hours, then senyazi ukuthi I have 16 cars a day from umuntu oyi-1 ongispanelayo. If ukuthi lo muntu uzospana for 5 days, let's say siwabeke esayidini ama weekend, then I know ukuthi I expect 80 cars ukuthi zibe washed by one person in a week. Then of course ngizo times that 5 days by 4 weeks to make it monthly. I expect one guy ukuthi angishayele 320 cars in a month. These are my income assumptions, and I'm making it as practical for you as humanly possible. Then ke sengizo times ukuthi okay imoto eyi-1 ngicharge malini, i-baseline cost yakhona lena, like this is for a hatchback, imoto nyane encane, It's cost over 50 rand. Sengiyazi ukuthi from one guy I expect about 16,000 a month. Sengiyazi ukuthi in order for him to generate leyo 16,000 for both of us, ngomnikeze naye ke i-paycheck yakhe nami ngikhona ukuhola raso, we need to have washed 320 cars. Sengiyazi ukuthi target lami ke mina as the person who's running the business, I must make sure there's a minimum of 320 cars to wash for this month for my guy. Senginga-times ke nangama site, senginga-times by a number of employees, if maybe beyi-5, if maybe nama sites ayi-2 nyana, that's 2. Yabona ukuthi sengiyakhona ukube, oh that's why umfana athi uzokwenza this much per month. That's income assumptions. Asike sikhulume a little bit ke about something else besides ama income assumptions bafethu. Ngifuna ukukhuluma ukuthi ama expenses wona ke siwabheka kanjani. And by the way, ngizoyithinta kancane nendaba ye-costing because sikhuluma ukuthi okay imoto yi-50 rand, sizobheka ukuthi kahle iba imali because mawubheka i-paperwork yami ithi 60 rand. There's a 10 rand la sengiyaye ngiyifake just for incentive. Angiyibali even as an expense. Ngiyazi ukuthi bawungivulela umnyango, if you have to refer the business kumele ngikhona ukukushiya nge-incentive nyana. So khona umuntu ozothi kimi okay Buthelezi, nazi imoto eziwu-10 for you to wash, mina yami ngicela uyiwashe for free. I've worked that into i-costing yami, yabona. But asike sibheka ama-expenses bafethu. So bese sasho sathi ama-expenses aza kayi-2. Kuba khona ama-fixed expenses, kube khona ama-variable expenses. Ama-fixed expenses ilawa ke siyawazi from month to month, awashintsha regardless ukuthi siproducani. What do we mean by that? Awona izinto nyana like abo rent. I-rent is always a good example mangabe sikhuluma ngama-fixed expenses. If ukuthi ngirenta i-office yiso and siproducer amakepisi, whether sithengisa amakepisi ayi-10 or sihlulekile ukuthengisa this month saphusha nga-0 or sithengisa ayi-5, i-rent stays the same. That's a fixed expense for my business. You could also look at izinto like i-payroll. Abantu bami, whether amakepisi still bazongikoloda i-salary, sivumelane nge-salary ye-3,000 yakho kumele uyithole. Whether ngithengisa amakepisi ayi-10 or ayi-2 or ngithengise 0, yabona. So those becomes ama-fixed expenses. Izinto like abo insurance, your accounting fees. Angithi une-agreement ne-accountant lakho, une-agreement naboholadi bakho ukuthi ushaye i-insurance, then it stays the same. Loan repayment uvumelene ne-bank, it stays the same. Variable expenses yiwo lawa ashintshashintshayo, adependa on production output. Yikho siteke mostly ama-cost of sales yiwathanda ukuthi abe ama-variable expenses. Sisho ukuthini? Maybe masibheka ama-example nyana. Things like i-raw material. If ngiproduce amakepisi ayi-10, i-raw material ibe amakepisi ayi-10. That's variable ngoba if ngiproduce ayi-5, that's less raw material. Uyayibona? I hope ya-understandeka kanjalo bafethu. Things like i-petrol. I could travel to the same place exactly the same number of times in a month. Petrol ngeke ibe the same. Izoba variable, izolibele ishintsha. And in this case, kumele wenze sure kuma variable expenses wakho at least wazi ama-average wakho, like your monthly average. I know ukuthi kumele ngibe ngibeke boma 2,000 for a petrol because that's my monthly average. We could even look at things like airtime. Yiyo ke into eshaya abantu kakhulu le. Masithi boma airtime, shanga ama-data. Ama-data azibafethu. Idatha liyashintsha. So and ziyakukhuthuza kakhulu lezi because you spend as and when you need. Izinto ezinjenge-electricity you spend as and when you need. Angeke khona manje makuphela electricity njalo uzolebela uyifaka. I-petrol mangabe uzolebela uyifaka. I-airtime masengathi yaphela, ain't you running a business? Uzo-recharge. And ngaleso sikhathi if awuzange utrack kahle ama-expense wakho, awazi ama-average wakho, senkingeni. You'll be in trouble. So keep a close eye on your expenses, bafethu. Please track your expenses. It's very, very important. Know ama-average amounts yama-variable costs wakho. It's very important to always keep average. Uyazi kahle ukuthi okay, on average at least kumele ngibeke this much for airtime. You don't want business like I said earlier, big businesses have fallen bafethu because of cash flow, because bashaya ama-variable expenses. Product li right, siqasha abantu kumnandi, itiye libe kuthengiwe itiye la ekhaya kuthengiwe ushukela. Lezi zinto sizithenga mangabe ziphela, it's variable expenses igcina isikhawatha la there. And please mind your addictions. Yeah, I said it. Mind your addictions. You would think ngoba sikhuluma ngebusiness kuphela ngeke sithinte indaba yama-addictions, but trust me on this, most of your variable expenses have to do with your addictions. And ama-addictions sikhuluma nje nge-habit. Yabona i-habit ohlala ulenza. Once ngi-addicted, let's say maybe I'm addicted to soccer, I spend on soccer. Angisa-tracking ama-expenses wami, angisa-count ukuthi vele sengispende kangakanani. I spend as and when because into engijabulisayo. Be careful of those things bafethu. Whether sikhuluma ngezinto ezipersonal yiso, as long as kusashaya i-habit, it's impulsive. Sispenda as and when. Alright, i-homework lihlala likhona ke bafethu. Angaze ngakurobha nge-homework. Homework izinto zami. So homework number 1, it's on budgeting inyuku yakho. Please ungihlanganisele just 1 month's profit and loss statement. Ungayuza ama-actual figures wa last month. So as an entrepreneur ngoba sitheke kumele sitrack angithi. Asike siqale nje sibheke ukuthi last month bese sipane kanjani, what was our income, bekuyini ama-cost of sales wethu, bekuyini ama-overheads wethu. Then ke uzongishanga le ya 12 months. Le 12 months we are projecting for the next 12 months. Ayikakayenzakali la ngisesiyabudgeta ke. Yiyo the budgeting part. Sekumele sisho ukuthi masibhekile thina next month and the next month and the next month nayo income esibonathi sizoba nayo. And by the way, it's always important ukuthi mawuzokwenza kanjalo, you must put together ama-income assumptions as well. So awukwazi ukuvela ukuthi ngibona ngathi ngizothuna inyuku engaka in the next 12 months. Iba nama-income assumptions because aba i-target lakho. That's proper way of budgeting. Yabona kuba ne-target lokuthi no, I hope to make this much. Ngitargethe ukuthuna inyuku engaka. So ngitargethe ukuthi ngizokwenza A, B, C and D. Those are income assumptions. Just like I tried to show ukuthi kwi-kawashi thina siyithuna kanjani. Uzongilistela nama-addictions wakho ke. Even if it's the personal ones, ngazibhalela esayidini. Just ukuthi for you to, because if you're going to track ama-expenses wakho, then you must know ukuthi yini kahle kahle ama-addictions wakho. Yini those things that just chow you immediately or spend on impulsively, yabona. And you must be able to say ukuthi iziphi that you can cut down on. Yabona with indaba zoma-COVID-19 and the pandemic, une-challenge, you must start reworking your budget. One of the main problems thina senza ukuthi noma sekune-challenge eliso, we keep ama-expenses wethu the same. Sometimes they go up even higher, yabona. Bobhizi upusha abo Netflix, you pay even more now. Kanti no, ezinye izinto just start cutting down, just start chilling on those things because ziyakucharge, ziyakucost yabona. So just take it easy guys. That's how you properly budget. But ke asike sikhulume ngendaba yaka Eisenhower bafethu. Sishilo sathi Eisenhower ushaya into emnandi makukhulumiwa ngendaba yokubudgeta isikhathi. So kumele sikhona ukubudgeta isikhathi sethu. What is urgent, what is important? Uyabona? Eisenhower's urgent and important principle izokunceda to quickly identify ama-activities ekumele ngabe ufocusa on. So sikhuluma indaba yokuprioritize yiso. Sikhuluma indaba yokuthi ziningi ezinye izinto okumele ukuthi uzenzile and ziface on, especially nina enisaqala ku-business. You may most likely find ukuthi mawusaqala you don't have a team that helps you to support the work. Uspana uyi-one, so yonke into ibheke wena, you wear all the caps. Makukanjalo mfethu kuzomele wazi ukuthi what are important issues and what are urgent issues. Iziphi ekumele ngizenze because important to me and me achieving my goals. Iziphi ezi-urgent esengiziphusha nje because ama-goals wabanye abantu. So to prioritize correctly and understand, uzoyuza this tool-ke ukuthi ukhona ukulista kahle ama-task wakho uwa-separate. Uzozicheckela wena ukuthi yini important and yini urgent. Yini important mara yikho urgent. Yini important engekho important but it is urgent, and then yini engekho important and engekho urgent. That's up to you, and sizoyifaka kuwo lama squares ukuthi siyibone kahle as a matrix ukuthi iphuma kanjani. Then uzoschedule ke ama-task wakho nama-activity accordingly, because uzobe sewazi ukuthi no ngiyaprioritize esikhaleni. Angivele ngenze noma yini. You must be mindful of how you budget isikhathi sakho as an entrepreneur. It's very important bafethu. So asike sibheke kuqala izinto ezi-important, ezingekho important, sorry, and ezingekho urgent. Lezo zinto ngithi mina ukuzidelete lezo zinto. Example, things like watching TV. Bafethu ayisayibukela i-TV. You need to take it easy on that. You need your time back. Kumele ukhona ukuthi ukhulise ibhizinisi lakho. Try to reinvest that time. Social media ngivele ngayibiza loitering. Khona ukuthi sesihleli nje kwi-social media. Ngiyazi ukuthi some of you use social media ukuthi ni-market ama-businesses wenu. But khona ukuthi sengilibele ngiyascrolla, sengiyazula nje. I'm just loitering around social media, reading other people's stuff. Isikhathi siyadleka ngaleso sikhathi bafethu. Zama ubhasobhelasi ukuthi isikhathi sakho spenda kanjani. Ama-meetings angena-agenda. Bambi i-meeting into engapheli, but there's no agenda. Akuna point that we are driving on. Please, my advice, eliminate it. Ayike ime kancane leyo because izokufaka ejayivini. Izokudlela isikhathi and ibhizinisi lakho uzolibona lengakhuli. Then uba nezinto ezingekho important, however ezi-urgent. Lezo try to delegate. Uyabona? Izinto like routine work yayiye esipanini. Khona izinto ekumele zenzakale every day yisesipanini eziyi-routine la yiso ukuthi sikhona ukuproduce lento esiyiproducayo. Zama ukudelegate someone to do those things. Day to day errands yisebhizinisini. The simple advice is find someone to do it for you, because uyazi ukuthi into vele kumele yenzakale and ethola ukuthi seyiba urgent, but it's not that important. Siyayenza nje because it's part of us running a business. Make sure that you find someone who can do that for you. Then of course ke sizobheka izinto ezi-important, however ezingekho urgent. Kulezo kuzomela udecide. Kuzomela uschedule, udecide ukuthi izokwenzakala nini into. Things like goal setting and budgeting. Yabona leyo nto ukuthi very important to this business, but it's not that urgent. Izinto like ama-projects that are close to the finish. Uyabona seyisondelele nto ukuthi iqeda ama-proposals, izinto ezinjengale, very important silibe sihlanganisa ama-proposal wethu, but it's not that urgent. Uyabona, unless ifisa uyabona ne-deadline isesondele. Kulezo nakanjani just schedule a time yokuthi uzoyithuna nini. Ubheka i-deadline lakho, uschedule isikhathi, uziplanele ngaleso sikhathi ngiyafocusa, ngibeka okunye esayidini, na into ekumele ngabe ngiyayenza. Then lastly, of course, kuba khona izinto ezi-important and izinto ezi-urgent. Ila ngokufuna khona ke la. As an entrepreneur kumele ube busy. This is your quadrant. These are the things that you should be doing. Yisispan sakho lesi as an entrepreneur kahle kahle. Things like sales and marketing zibheke wena. Ayithunakale node idea. You know how quickly you respond to a prospective client. It's important because leyo muntu usungaconverta kube yinyuku in your pocket. Awungayidelay lena, and siyayidelay lena siyayibalekela because kunezinto esithandayo ukuzenza in this business. We focus on the things that we like doing bese singanaki lezi ezingathi zi-difficult, yabona, lezi ngathi ziyasidemand. Project planning ngathi iyasidemanda right there. Ngathi kumele sibheke abo record keeping, ngathi kumele sibheke izinto ezithafu yiso, outing is avoid, abo decline deadline driven projects. Ay, lento ine-deadline ngazathi seziyangibuyela yiso, ngizobuye ngibo bese procrastinate senze other things. No bafethu, this is where you need to be. These you must do them right now. Yeah, I understand. I hope you understand right now. Akuyibheke nje kancane before I move on to the next slide. Of course, wena ngine homework for you. Ngihlala ngikoloda homework kahle kahle emhlabeni, yazi. Homework into emnandi bafethu. We must love our homework. So very quickly mangabe sewungibudgetela isikhathi, just compute a list yama-task nama-responsibilities that you have on a day-to-day basis. Asike siqale nje la. Ayithi sikhulume kwinyuku sathi i-tracking i-very important yama-expenses wethu. Asike sitracke nesikhathi sethu bafethu. Yini kahle kahle ama-task wala ekhaya kumele siwenzile? Yini ama-responsibilities wethu on a day-to-day basis? Once sesinayo leyo shandisi, asike siseparate-ke si-prioritize. As-prioritize according to siyibonile i-matrix angithi. Urgent and important principle yaka Eisenhower. Akungiprioritizele ke now. What comes first for you? Yini engekho so important for you? So the two zobona ayithi isitulo sathi ziyi-4 that ngizobona nawe okay leni important but ayikho urgent, leni urgent. Follow that pattern izokunceda. Then ke nayo enye indlela engifuna ungenzela, just create an accountability hour where you will review ama-tasks osewachunile. La uzodecide khona ukuthi yini enida refocusing, yini amanye yini engiyishedulayo. Anti ezinye sitheke sizoschedule sizozenza nini, ezinye sitheke sizodelegate, ila sizodelegate khona. So kumele nje kube ne-hour olispendayo on your business la unaka nje wena ukuthi how am I doing, where am I going, thunakala kanjani. That's very very important. And enye into esingajwayelanga ke uyenze ngizocetha ungenzele yona, determine a suitable reward ozozipha yona for every major task oyi-accomplishile. I know ukuthi akujwayelekanga sithuna kanjalo but kumele celebrate ama-victories wethu bafethu, however small, however big, kumele celebrate ama-victories wethu. So kumele ukhona mase uyishayile i-hour lakho sewubheka ukuthi okay nazi izinto bekumele ngizenze, lena sesiyi-reachile and kudala vele kuyi-goal lale business kumele silireache. That's a proper way of honoring isikhathi sakho. You'll find that you will do much better in time management if uyazipha nama-victories nyana bafethu. Just ukuzijabulisa nyana okay nali reward nyana engizipha lona. It doesn't have to be something major, it doesn't even have to be something costayo. Just a smaller nyana reward, yabona. Alright, asike siringe ke ngendaba yama-relationship and yona straight sovele singene kwi-homework. Sengiya towards the end of my program. Laphayana kwi-homework yama-relationship bafethu, ngizofuna ukuthi ungenzele a list yama-relationship according to the spreadsheet. You know, sometimes sifune ukuthi simarket to people who don't know us, sikhohlwe abantu abasaziyo, kanti that's where referral is sitting. You know as well as I know as someone in business that referral is the best form of marketing. However, kumele uyi-activate i-referral. There's a reason why masome McDonald bethi, don't you want fries with that? There's a reason why mangabe uyoshopa somewhere but you know we have a special today. If you buy that you'll also get it. They are activating you. They are upselling to you. So now iba naleyo mentality ukuvula nje i-phone book yakho. Ukucheck nje efonini lakho. You'll find ukuthi okay naba abantu engingaqala ngiba contact kumele bazi ukuthi usesikhaleni, bazi ukuthi uthengisa ini. They can always assist you. That's you activating i-referral. So that will be my homework. Ngizocela ungideterminele in order of priority ukuthi uzoba engage kanjani laba bantu or ama organizations around you. Okay, sisho ukuthini ke mangabe sihlukanisa into 3 kanje. For the first column I'm talking about your primary relationships. Primary relationships, then extended relationships, and then ungenzele na professional relationships. Just classifying and prioritizing, you're just separating abantu obaziyo already or abantu abakwi-phone book lakho. What do we mean mangabe sikhuluma nga primary relationships? This is your tribe. This is a low-hanging fruit bafethu. These are the early adopters. These are personal relationships. Kunabanye benu, you've started a business, but kunabantu ohlala nabo in the same household. Abazi what you do. Ayishintshe leyo mentality bafethu. The people around you are your first point of support. Yenza sure ukuthi bayayazi into oyithunayo and they are able to support you. You are activating a referral mawuthuna kanjalo. Extended relationships, these are people or organizations owaziyo who know people or organizations ofuna ukuthi ubazi. I hope you understand that idea. Kuba khona organization if I could be in touch with that organization, it can really pump up into my business. I know someone who knows leyo organization and ngifuna le organization ingazi. So kumele kube khona umuntu esingamcontact. You must remember, mase budget the relationship part, it's all about name and number. There's no ways that you can phone i-Absa ikuphendule. I-Absa does not have a mouth, i-Absa does not have ears. You can phone uSibongiseni osebenza e-Absa. You can phone uZandile osebenza e-HR yase-Absa. I hope you understand what that means. It just simply means that we are talking about name and number. We are getting specific. So mangabe sesi-engage, mangabe sesisetela as ama-target, siyazi ukuthi nayi into esifuna ukuthi siyithunile. And then kuyiwa phambili bafethu. Professional relationships, these are people or organizations who could be defined as a competition yakho. But mase ubheka kahle, you could even collaborate with them. What do I mean by this? I remember some time ago, there's a girl engumcoacher makafika for the first time mangisenza i-baselining naye, I think some 6 years ago, it's a while ago. Uthi no, kahle kahle mina ngifuna ukuyoshaya i-trucking. You mean, oh, okay, that's interesting. So have you ever driven a truck? Have you ever even worked at a truck? Ish, ayingathi kuzoba nobunzima yini. So ngithi kuye awubhekele abantu ocabanga ukuthi bazoba i-competition yakho, awukuyo-volunteera nazo. Just go and pick up some knowledge base inyana. I remember around the time there was also another girl obekathi, you know, I make bread, I already work ngitshuna isinkwa. Ngimina, who's your competition? Uthi Shoprite. Yo, compete ne-Shoprite. You are not a competition to them. How about thinking of them as someone you could complement or someone ongaba-supplier nga some of your cakes? Because mawuzothi ucompete nabo kukudala befikile esikhaleni, that's not your competition. Half the people esibabheka is a competition we really should be collaborating with. Mase sikhuluma iqiniso eliphelele bafethu. So awungibhekele some of the relationships that mangabe siwabhekile are just professional relationships. You could partner with these people. You could work with these people. You could be their supplier, they could be your supplier. You understand? Then ke mase ngihlanganisa these three columns zama relationship. Just give me 5 examples uba target and then ungitshela ukuthi uzoba engage anini. That's your homework number 3. Yeah, no, I think other than that, that's how you'd budget money, time, people, or at least this is the start of it. We can always talk further again on other strategies of how you can really do this. But the name of the game is engage, engage, engage. You can't just do this stuff, then it's just administrative heavy. Ayikuncedi ngafokolo unless you engage, engage, engage. That's the name of the game. Other than that, thank you for listening in. If you stayed till the end, you are my champion. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. Tshela nabanye basivizithe here on YouTube. Abayibheke le mpahla. We are always out there to assist. We've been working in this coaching space for a very long time. I have a small team engispana nayo. We are really keen on always supporting startup entrepreneurs. I've been in business since 1998, bafethu, so I've seen some things along the way. I want to share some of the knowledge that I have. I want to share from my failures. I want to share from my successes. Let's build our businesses together, bafethu, give phambili. Thank you and good luck.